The following Toku Podcastu contains spoilers from both past and present tokusatsu, anime, manga, movies and other related media. If you do not wish to be spoiled, we suggest turning off the podcast now. Otherwise, please enjoy the show.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Tokusatsu Podcastu, the best show about Tokusatsu you've probably never heard of. As always, I'm That's Jay.
Too fast for me to come up with a bit. Pass.
No, do it.
Remember
that time Ultraman Jonas? Phil.
This is actually my first time doing an Ultraman episode, so whoopee!
No, it's
yes,
not.
Yes, it is.
You did Ultra Galaxy Battle.
Oh, that's right, I did.
That was the old
anyway, that's Chad.
Welcome to the Toku Podcastu, one of my favorite sayings.
Is it?
Yeah, oh yeah, that's right. I kind of hate being here. Later, guys.
Don't leave us!
And then Chad just leaves for the rest of the episode and he doesn't say anything else.
That he pulls a Mephiles. He's just like, I'm out.
It's like, yeet!
Spoilers.
Oh, who fucking
The
motherfucker?
movie was in theaters for 2 days and reached top 5 for the week.
I'm kidding.
Not
only that-
Jesus
Not
Christ.
only that.
You do,
No,
you do it
no.
every time, AJ.
No, I will remember the robot.
So you don't have to.
You will listen to Claire.
Claire.
What's her name now?
What, are we declaring that now?
Yeah.
Ah!
I'm declaring that her name is Claire.
I got it. Yeah.
How many people are going to get that?
At least 2. And they're both in this room.
I actually like that he actually has a number for it.
So yes. Well, what are we doing? Well, read the fucking title, jackass.
I don't wanna.
Stupid. Anyways,
Uncle Phil.
I mean, fair enough. Anyways, we're doing Hideki Anno's longest video essay to date, Shin Ultraman. So Jay, tell us. Well, we know what the movie's about, but tell us either way. What is the movie about?
Well, it's basically a remake of the well, not basically. It's a remake of the original 1960s Ultraman show with a world not too dissimilar to ours, where giant kaiju end up just spontaneously beginning to appear in Japan, and the formation of a special government task force to stop them. And everybody's lives are inexplicably changed when a giant silver alien shows up on Earth, and shenanigans ensue. That is, yeah. I mean, that's basically it's basically just the original Ultraman for you.
So where do we start with this? Because of course, this being a movie, it's not going to be as in depth as an entire series. But I think we have a lot to say about this movie, both in kayfabe and out of kayfabe, in a sense. So, shall we get to? Should we? I'm pretty sure there was a lot of, because I remember when this was being made, there was kind of a bit of a backstage skull with it. But Jay would be the one to know more about that than I would.
I don't remember too much. I mean, other than COVID bullshit happening, I don't remember too much about behind the scenes drama. I remember there was a bit of an uproar when it turned out Anno wasn't going to direct this one. But other than that, I don't remember any particular kerfuffles or issues or complaints or fears or anything when they announced it. So, yeah, I'm not sure, unless you're remembering something I forget.
Well, either way, let's talk about the longest unfixed episode I've ever seen in my life.
Well, you say that, and then
Higuchi.
fuck, what is it? Taguchi.
Yeah.
There we go. He's gonna put out a video episode. The finale's gonna be like 3 hours long or something.
You know what? I would.
I would watch it.
Would. Anyways, but yes. So, shall we start with the characters, and let's start with Kaminaga, aka Ultraman. Interesting choice for a character, I will say.
I enjoyed his character. I enjoyed his actor very much. It was an interesting take. If you've seen the original Ultraman, the way in it is that oh my god, I am embarrassed that I'm forgetting his fucking
Hayata
name.
Shin.
Thank you. It was Shin something. Shin Hayata. He's your quintessential Showa protagonist, in the sense that he doesn't really have much of a character. He's very much shining example of humanity and straight-laced authority figure and, blah, blah, blah. If you've seen a Tokusatsu show, if you've seen a show or really anything, you've seen his character. So this was a good different take on it, where unlike in that show where he is just himself, here it is Ultraman specifically piloting the body of him. And so they play up the fish out of water elements, not understanding human culture, him really just getting invested in humanity and not knowing anything about it, and the sort of idiosyncrasies between how he's acting and everybody around him, and the way he starts to acclimate with human society and him learning about humanity. It's a very interesting character arc for him. I really did enjoy it. I liked that they weren't afraid to get really weird with him in more ways than one. Just in general, where he's got his delivery is... Once Ultraman kind of... honestly, even before Ultraman takes over his body, he's a very... I don't want to necessarily say stoic, but emotionless kind of person. He never really reacts to anything. He's got a very fixed response, fixed face, very minimal, subdued reactions. Even after Ultraman takes over him, that kind of gets... They don't really amp it up even too much. He's kind of a fucking weirdo. And that's honestly one of the things that's very subtle that I really liked, is that when he gets taken over as Ultraman, and he's sitting there with a pile of books just pouring through human history like a book at a time, and the rest of the SSSP don't even react. Yeah, so just nobody reacts to him being this fucking weirdo at all until they find out that he's Ultraman. So I like that it's a very subtle, minimal element to his character where nobody really notices that there's anything wrong with him because he's basically acting exactly the same as always. So I like that. I like that they weren't afraid to make him a complete weirdo. They really hammered that point in. But I enjoyed him as a character, and his arc of being the alien fish out of water has been done before with Ultraman, but I did enjoy the way they did it here.
It felt much more subdued in the way, I hate to say it like this because we're talking about Ultraman, subtle, grounded.
Like, I think the thing especially that I did like with his character especially is that they established early on, it's like, oh yeah, he actually does cover his tracks pretty well. He's, I believe, a part of, like, what the Japanese equivalent of, I think the CIA or, like, some kind of police force in which is basically...
The Public Security Bureau is what they say, which is... it kind of gets hyped up in media as being, like, the CIA or FBI, but it's not really equivalent. I mean, again, it's the closest equivalent they have, but in terms of, like, scale of scope, they're basically nobodies.
Yeah, like...
They're exterminators. They're glorified exterminators.
And I think in that case, like, in terms of that writing, or, like, writing him in that way, just, like, it works because we don't know much about the guy to begin with, and we still don't know much about him even as Ultraman.
See, it's funny when you mention it because, and we're going to get to that with the other characters as well, that them making him weird is probably the reason why I felt the most unfixed vibes from, because... in that show, they were all fucking weird. Nobody was fucking normal in that show. And in this movie, nobody's fucking normal in this movie. No. And in a weird way, that makes them all endearing. Like, I've seen a lot of people complain, Kaminaga's boring, he's got no personality, you know, the usual suspects. It's not even that he doesn't have a personality. He does. He's just a fucking weirdo. And like Jay said, I'm going to say stoic because that seems to be... around the lines that I felt. Of course, he can also be emotionless, but like, I just found him interesting with the way that he portrayed his character because he said a lot with not showing any emotion. Like, he did not have to show that he was angry or sad or any of this stuff to convey what he felt. And that's what I liked about it. I liked that they showed all of this without him having to really emotes, and I think that's everything to the actor. The actor did a fantastic fucking job portraying that.
I'd say, if anything, this is kind of like a similar situation to, like, casting, like, with, like, the Black Sun cat. Well, then again, Black Sun is actually, ironically, a part of this cast. But like this is what happens when you get like A-listers that are known in acting, because Takumi Saito is apparently again kind of like up there with the guy who played Kotaro Minami. But then again, we actually did get the guy for this movie anyways. So
it's a very funny coincidence. Actually, it's totally coincidental, I think, with the timing and delays because of COVID and everything. But it's kind of like how in Showa Ultraman, the leader of the SSSP was the same guy who played Tachibana in the original Kamen Rider. It's kind of a weird coincidence that they both do that, huh?
No. Anno's just so much of a fan.
well, I mean, for crying out loud,
he's just that
Well, I mean,
crazy.
He just knew that he was going to be in Black Sun, so he cast him preemptively.
I mean, like whatchamacallit, we knew that like for Shin Kamen Rider, like the main guy who's playing Hongo actually broke his leg on set, so
Ooh.
Oh no.
so either way, we'll get to that if we ever get Shin Kamen Rider, which we'll see. But anyways, besides going back to Ultraman though, it's neither here nor there.
But yeah, but to finish with Kaminaga, I love Kaminaga. I love his fucking character. I love him as Ultraman. We're gonna get to some of the. It's gonna be weird because special effects isn't something that we usually talk about on this show, but that's gonna be a point that we're gonna talk about a little bit later. Going through the rest of the crew, I don't remember what Black Sun's name was in this movie. Honestly, I was just having PTSD and expected Ultraman to kneel on Dada's neck, but that's neither here nor there. So what was his
Let
name?
me look up the cast of.
Shit, I don't remember.
Because like I feel like a lot of the characters from Shin Ultraman were honestly kind of hard to remember, but like I can obviously like memorize them from other works that they did, just not the names in the movie. But apparently he was Tamura.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's right.
right. I remember because Tamura and then one of the higher ups, they both shared names with characters from the Yakuza series, which is really weird because they're both in the exact same position as those characters in the Yakuza series. And I was like, Anno, what the fuck are you saying with this? What did he mean by this? But yes,
Who
Black
knows
Sun.
what
I
Anno
liked
meant by this.
right. But yeah, Black Sun. I liked his character. He was a fun guy. He wasn't much, but he did. I don't want to. I feel like this is going to be kind of insulting to say, but a lot of the characters were kind of utilitarian in their role, where they're not supposed to be standouts. They fit for what they're supposed to. Except for, was her name Asami?
Yes,
That was
Asami
Asami.
Hiroko. Yes.
Yes, that girl, the girl who like smacking asses, which is really
What
weird.
was
They
that?
gave her that thing from. They gave her that character trait from Juggler apparently. But yeah, she was.
Well, she mostly slapped her own ass, other than Ultraman's that one time, whereas Juggler was
No,
touching-
she slapped the other scientist chick ass.
I
Did
believe
she?
no, she
Forgot.
slapped
Yeah,
someone
she
else's ass. I'm not sure who it was though.
It was the scientist chick. They were like, all right, let's.
Well,
get
she slaps
fired
her
up
own
and just
like 3 times. She does Kaminaga. I think she does. I don't remember if it was Taki or the other chick, but it was one. I guess that was one of them. Not important, really.
But yeah, I don't know. I kind of liked her too. I liked her character a lot. She was spunky. There was something
She
about
was
her.
good.
Like,
She was a good
Yeah.
foil for Kaminaga, where she's very energetic. She's very much a go-getter. She's not necessarily proactive, I guess, in comparison to Ultraman, but she's definitely really, really into the public facing, I guess, of the organization. She really wants to sell the idea of being this hero, this warrior against the kaijus, and she gets really invested in Ultraman because of that. And that kind of clashes with Kaminaga, who, obviously being Ultraman, he's got the secret identity stuff, and he's doing his thing with humanity, and of course he's got to do his fight against the kaiju in the shadows. So there ends up being a little bit of a Superman Clark Kent kind of thing there, where it's like, oh, fucking Clark Kent is a useless nobody who always hides. I wish he could be more like Superman. It's that kind of relationship they have, and I liked her. I liked her character. Her actor was really good too.
Is it weird to say that? And again, this is not an insult or a negative, but is it weird to say that she feels like she fits in a more contemporary Ultraman rather than this movie, and in a good way, where her character feels more. I think that's why the tone felt so strange to me at first. Where like, oh, her character is somebody you would see in like Geed or something like that. She's very
Proactive.
bright.
She does
No,
feel
not
more like
proactive,
a
bright.
Heisei era
Yeah.
character than the.
Yeah,
More
she
modern,
feels brighter.
definitely.
She feels, modern, contemporary, whichever word you want to use. But yeah, that's I kind of like that about her. Where, again, like you said, it was a good contrast with Kaminaga. Where Kaminaga is just, yes,
Well,
I am Ultraman.
I think there like lies actually an interesting point here, mainly because like in terms of Kaminaga, while he's a good character, even like with Ultraman possessing him, I kind of wish we got to see a little more of Kaminaga's personality without Ultraman. Of seeing like, oh yeah, this is the guy who we knew before he kind of got possessed by Ultraman, you know?
I mean, I understand you where I do wish we got to see a little bit more of Kaminaga and how he interacts with the rest of the team beforehand. But from the little bit that we saw of him, if obviously we, not to break kayfabe here, but we have all of course only seen this movie once, and nobody here has seen it more than once. Definitely not from an illegal source.
Most definitely not, never.
But if you kind of pay attention to the way the rest of the SSSP react when Asumi comes in, where they're just not even reacting to Kaminaga's nonsense, where you get the idea that he's always been kind of like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can notice too with a little bit with his performance as well. Like when they're in the meeting room and he's talking about going after the kid, his delivery is basically identical.
That's what I was going to say. Like, I think the idea was that he was able to kind of copy Kaminaga's personality, not to a T, but well enough where they're just like, oh, well, yeah, that's Kaminaga. What are we going to do about it? It's him. It's just who he is.
Just gotta get used to it.
Just,
You gotta
yeah,
get
he
used
didn't
to
bring
him.
me a coffee. Yeah, he doesn't bring any of us coffee, so yeah, get used to it.
I love the response to that, too, where she's like, what, you didn't bring me a coffee? And Kaminaga's just like, what fucking luck did you bring?
She's just like, yeah, and like, the fuck am I supposed to be, your pack mule? It's like, what? You're human. You have functioning abilities.
Get your own
What are we-
coffee.
I'm sorry. I missed your double leg.
You know what? I
amputation.
will admit though, I appreciate the comedy in this movie. Let me just say that right now. I really appreciate it.
Yes.
Because it's gotten
That was
so
a good
points.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
No.
that was going to I was gonna say that was gonna go into a point where, because let's be honest, the other characters are again utilitarian as hell. We'll get to the villains, of course, but the tone of this movie, if you're gonna go watching this movie, thinking that it's gonna be anything like Shin Godzilla, it is, but it's also very lighter. It's a lot lighter in tone, and I think Jay mentioned it's trying to not copy, but emulate that kind of zany that grounded zaniness. I guess that's the kind of word I'm going to use. The weird grounded zaniness that you had from the show era, where they kind of accepted that it was all bullshit. Like, it was all silliness, but we're going to take it as serious as possible.
Earnest audacity, I guess, if that makes any sense. It's weird. It's not self-aware. It's self-aware in the sense that they kind of know it's weird, but they also aren't conscious about it, and they also don't really care how people
That
receive
just
it.
happened.
Yeah, there's no irony to it. They're doing it completely because they think this is cool. There's no like, what do other people think? How will this sell? Blah 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 blah. And when you compare this to Shin Godzilla, it's very much where you compare the original Godzilla to the original Ultraman, where the original 1954 Godzilla is, well, it's a dark, depressing, moody movie about, the horrors of mankind and science being manifest literally. And Shin Godzilla copied that. The original Ultraman's a goofy sci-fi show about an alien fighting giant monsters. And occasionally there's some political commentary and, moral lessons. And that's pretty much this movie as well, is that it's a goofy movie about an alien fighting giant monsters filled to the brim with political commentary. Good political commentary compared to the last show that we did that had political commentary.
I mean, look, if we're going to compare which one did it better, like, this is not even a fucking contest.
Agreed.
Let's be
No.
fair. Like, Black Sun was just a fucking constant, like, it was like Mike Tyson just constantly punching you in the face. This was kind of more like a clown reading you Mein Kampf.
It's like a System of a Down song almost, where
You know what?
You get heavy ambient alt metal stuff, and then suddenly you just get
Hecticness.
Surged reading a fucking Wikipedia article about war crimes. Yeah,
I mean, to be fair, yeah, that's exactly how this movie feels. It's like a System of a Down song. Which is ironic because Godzilla had that guy do a song for them once.
That's right.
It's all connected.
But
yes,
what did Anno mean by this?
Nothing. He just really likes System of a Down.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised.
But anyways, let's talk about the 3 villains of. Well, I guess there's really. Well, no, there's 2, but it's the last one's not really so much of a villain. But let's talk about the 3 let's talk about the 3 antagonists.
Yeah, not the random monsters. We're talking about the ones that have sentience.
Just like a real quick paragraph about the other 2 other SSSP members. I liked the Captain Tamura. I think we
talked about him already.
I didn't get to talk about him. You did, and then we went on to something else. I liked his character. He's very much that kind of Showa era commander character. I think they use him a little bit too bluntly in terms of delivering the politics, where he'll just kind of stop and kind of almost look at the camera and explain this is what we're commenting on in this scene. The other 2 they're kind of interchangeable. The Taki and
I believe it's Taki and Yui. There we go.
I liked them. I liked their characters, but they were too similar and they just kind of blended together. But they were fun. I liked their actors. So yeah, there's that on them. So let's go into the kaiju. Yes. So we've got 5 major kaiju, and we have a couple in a prologue kind of setting up the story.
We have
actually, really interesting part. One of the kaiju in the prologues of the movie. So, in the past, during Ultra Q, I believe, there was a kaiju called Gomez.
Yes.
And Gomez was actually a retooled Godzilla suit. I believe it might have been from Godzilla vs. Mothra back in the day. And then the thing that they did for this movie specifically is that Anno's a giant nerd. He took a page from that. And Gomez, in the prologue, is actually a remodeled, pretty much model of Shin Godzilla.
I really liked that. That was a nice little continuity nod there. Gomez, he's kind of a B-tier kaiju. He shows up every now and then, but they completely redesigned him, so he looks nothing like Godzilla anymore, unfortunately. So this was a nice little fun throwback to the retro stuff. But he's only in the movie for 10 seconds, and then after that we get a montage of the weird-ass mammoth flower from that one episode that nobody remembers. Pagila, was it Pagos?
Yeah, Pagos. Let's see. Kaigeru?
And there's one other one that I don't remember. The big bird one. Not Pagila.
Let's see, that's, I have the design works book in front of me right now. I believe that's, Rarugeru... Oh, man, I can't even pronounce that. Shit. I'm just gonna refer to
To be fair, a lot of Ultra Kaiju names.
Yeah, Larugus.
It's the bird.
Laru...
Yes.
Largius, there we go.
Largius.
Yeah. Which weird choices. I think it's definitely. Well, to be fair, all of the kaiju, with the exception of the last 2, are all kind of weird choices. They're not what you would expect. If you were to go and make a big budget Ultraman movie, who would you pick? You'd pick the ones everyone knows. You'd pick Bemular. You'd pick the Baltans. You'd pick Dada. You'd pick fucking the Gomorrah. You'd pick the ones that everybody knows, everybody recognizes. And Anno didn't do that. Anno and Higuchi did not do that. So we get the initial ones in the intro, and then we have Naranga. It's a decent choice. Naranga's pretty popular. Gabora, which is a weird one because nobody really remembers Gabora, but they used it mostly just to make the joke about how he and Pagos kind of look the same because their suits were basically retooled from one another. Which again, okay, another little fun gag. I enjoyed that. And they're kind of just dispensable. They're mostly there just kind of set up the plot and just the first one is basically just there so Ultraman can show up and they can kind of set up the tone for the movie. Naranga doesn't really do a whole lot, which is a shame because I kind of like Naranga. I did like the fight though. So yeah, we get Naranga, Gabora, and then we start getting more plot heavy where why am I blanking on his name? There we go. Thank you. I feel like an idiot.
But Jay, why didn't they have Belial?
Fuck, shut up.
You not, dude. No.
Oh, why didn't they use Red King? Oh, why didn't they use
Why wasn't
Pandon in there?
Why wasn't Pandon or
To be fair,
Metron
if Sevenger was in this movie, it'd be base as fuck.
That would actually be pretty cool.
Well, there's Shin 7 coming eventually.
Yeah, that's true.
Are you true enough?
Why didn't they use Ace Killer? Why didn't they use shut up? Yeah.
Why didn't they use Ginga?
Why did they use Valky? Yeah, why did they use Dark Lugiel? You know, the three dudes from Indonesia asking for Dark Lugiel.
Why wasn't Reboot in this one? Why wasn't Zero in this?
I didn't hear Mama Miano anywhere.
I mean, this movie deals with the multiverse. Why wasn't Zero here?
Oh, God. Where's Nexus?
Oh, God.
Anyways,
I would say, you know what? I would say Ultraman King, but honestly, he's the only one that would actually make sense.
He would actually be in this.
Prime Minister.
What was it? Yeah, so Zarab shows up, and then we get Mephiles, and then, of course, the final boss is Zetton, because who the fuck else would it be? It's an Ultraman movie. So, yeah, rather sizable cast of kaiju for the length of the movie. Of course, only 5 of them matter, but, well, even then, only 3 of those 5 matter.
Even then, only two of those 5 matter.
Definitely a decent choice, a very weird choice, not what you would expect, but that's very much a real fan kind of thing where you don't pick the obvious ones.
I was about to say.
You pick, let me just pick this random ones that I remember from episodes I really like, episodes that were really good, and let's just do those episodes in full again, basically. So you know what? Hey, more power to them. I enjoyed the choices that they went with. But yeah, all of the design-wise, they're all really good. They are reminiscent of how they should look from the main suits and everything. There's obviously a little bit of tooling up, but there's definitely an attention to... fucking computer is not working. Attention to detail with the designs where they really, really try to emulate this is a dude in a crappy suit look out of a lot of the characters. Ultraman especially, they put a really lot of heavy emphasis with the design and the texturing and the way his body moves and the contouring of his skin and muscles to make it look like this is a dude in a suit. And the way a lot of the kaiju move and the way their effects work, like Zarab, where the way his mouth kind of works, it's it looks like it's a shitty little prop somebody's moving with their hands, but it's obviously a CG model and it's part of his body.
Okay, so I guess since you mentioned this, we got to get into this. You kind of did. So there's a thing about the effects that I have to say now, and I've said this watching it 2 times legally. The version that I saw today, that Jay gave me graciously, which was legal, for some reason the effects looked way fucking better on that version than I did in the theater. The theaters looked like shit, like unfinished shit. At least here I was like, they look fine. Why did they not look like this in the theater? So I asked a buddy of mine who went to go watch it as well, and I said, did they look bad to you by any chance? And he's like, yeah, they look really blurry and garbagey. I'm like, I don't know if that was just my theater showing us really bad effects or something, but the version that I saw today, they looked more than serviceable.
Yeah, I have no idea. I haven't watched that completely legal copy since I had tamed it 5 months ago. So I couldn't tell you. I haven't seen anybody else mention that. I've been looking at it, basically everybody who went to go see the movie who talked about it. And nobody else has mentioned this. So I don't know if it's just the shitty theater quality or what. I don't know.
It could have been my theater probably because again the version that you sent to me, it looked fine. It looked again serviceable. Everything the effects were finished. Like Zetton looked better than he did. The version I saw of Zetton in the theater was fucking shocking. I'm not gonna lie. So I'm kind of weirded out by that. I don't know if anybody else has had this but me, but it was something that I had to bring up the moment that we came in here.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Obviously, Chad and Phil are the only ones who only saw it the one time, so they can't compare. But I don't know. it has been a little while since I had seen that first one that I had sent you, so I have no idea. I can't compare, but I haven't seen anybody else mention it, so who the fuck knows?
I thought it looked fine. Maybe with like the effects for Ultraman at first, it looked a little like I kept looking at it like, is this is not a suit actor. This is CG. And I'm like, oh, all right. I mean, it looked fine. I didn't know whether or not the projector in the theater was a digital or I honestly don't think they were using 30 millimeter film. They weren't using that.
I don't think.
I believe this movie
this.
may have been shot with the intention of being shown in IMAX. I believe. I'm not quite sure. Don't quote me on that. But
You know what?
I believe it might have been.
You know what? If that's the case, again, we're not confirming or denying anything, but like if that's the case, that might have explained a lot of why some of the quality in the theater that I was watching it looked kind of squashed. Like it looked a little squished at points. Like even on Kaminaga, like just his regular human form, it looked a little weird. Like all of the effects and the movie itself just kind of looked like it had a weird fuzz over it. So I don't know. Again, I thought the effects were serviceable in the version that I got sent by Jay. That was all right. But the one in the theater, like the theater version was just garbage. And to be fair, this is also the same problem I had when Shin Godzilla came out, that the effects in the theater looked also like really, really bad. So I don't know. Maybe Anno is just fucking with us.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised.
Honestly, in this case, like I think for me personally, in terms of the experience of watching it on the big screen, I want to say that the effects weren't super jarring. I think if anything, because literally the day before I watched Shin Godzilla just to kind of refresh myself. And I want to say the effects, like the practical effects on Shin Godzilla, definitely stood out to me more as like a more enjoyable experience for that movie. Whereas like Shin Ultra, like definitely you could see that there is a lot more use of CG and like mocap. But in terms of like it looking super, super janky, I don't really know. Mainly because I kind of feel like I did go and see this with another friend that's like a very big fan of like the Showa era. Like the Showa era, like Rider and Ultra, like effects and whatnot. And if anything, the thing that he actually interestingly pointed out to me is like, yeah, no, the effects and like the techniques for filming and everything that they use specifically for this movie are very, very reminiscent of like what was seen back in the day. And if anything, it's like it's just an updated, more modernized version of those effects. It's like same technique, but at the end of the day, still Showa. I don't know if that makes any sense though. Like,
no, yeah,
I understand that.
It was definitely deliberately evoking the
limitations
of the
like the really campy, really limited effects of the Showa era. And
I think there was just a couple of points with the like the what's Zarab? That's his name?
Yeah.
Okay. Like the fight with Zarab looked fine. The fight with Mephiles at some points looked kind of like, I'm going to be honest, looked like PS2 era wrestling intro videos.
I was about to say.
Not gonna lie.
I was about to say
that. The arm drag or the arm flip, that looked kind of funky. A lot of the points in that fight looked fine, but there were just some points of that where I'm just like, why does that look so off? Like especially where Ultraman does the that Ultraman fall where he jumps backwards and flips around. That looked a bit like. Is that mocap or is that just is that just like a template from, or is that just a template from a fucking studio
To be
thing?
fair, Ultraman does do that fall a lot. So.
No, I know that. I'm just saying that it looked weird the way they
like
did it.
if anything, I believe it's probably more CG. If anything, I'm not sure if that's mocap, mainly because that was actually a point my friend actually pointed out to me. He's like, in terms of that effect specifically, the thing that they would do back then was that. The way they filmed it, it was pretty much basically filming the suit actor falling down and then reversing that and speeding it up. However, in this case, in order to kind of get that similar effect, I'm not really sure what they did here in this case. Whether or not that's CG or if that's like or something similar, where they actually just knocked down, whether that was Bin Furuya or Hideaki Anno, because apparently interchangeably switched out when filming the mocap.
Because it's fucking Anno.
Of course,
Why
he has
not?
to do it.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, there were times in the movie where the fight scenes looked fine. They looked actually relatively decent. But there were also times where I'm like, I'm sorry, that just looks janky as fuck. Like, that looks really janky. And, like, I'm not going to excuse it with, like, them trying to, like, emulate something with that. It just looks too weird to my eyes.
No, I would agree. There are definitely points where the line between deliberately janky and actually janky get crossed. Like, one that sticks out in my mind is during the Gabora fight, where you get that shot that's a close-up on Ultraman while he's dodging, and that just looks just terrible, and it's just goofy, and it's not like the fun kind of goofy. Like, that sticks out in my mind as not looking very good. And there's definitely points in the Mephiles fight that, like when Ultraman throws the Ultra Saws at him, and he kind of bats it away. When he bats it away, it looks really, like, goofy and, like, unnatural and not in the way they probably intended.
Exactly. And again, I don't even think necessarily, like, all the effects look bad. It was just those couple of points where I'm just like for example, right? I thought the fight with Zarab was really cool looking, especially at night. Not gonna lie, there was a couple of points where it did look like that new Ultraman movie in CG from 2007.
Oh my fucking
video.
god, you're right.
Right, but other times, like the one shot that really sticks out to me was when Ultraman was flying through the city when he got knocked down for the first time. I was like, all right, that looks really fucking good, and like even some of the texture looked really good. But again, just some of them just looked a bit too like, you could have just done this with practical effects and it probably would have been 10 times better.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's kind of the downside, is that they do a really good job with the actual models of like emulating the looks of how the suits would. Like I was gonna say Mephiles, like when he talks and like the lights go up, the way it looks like it's a bunch of shitty LEDs in some foam padding. The way they replicated that looks really good, and like the texturing to him, and the way Zarab looks. And like again, like the way they kind of replicate the different helmets for Ultraman throughout the movie, where when he first shows up, it's that really gross, wrinkly one, and then by the time he shows up, near the end of the movie, he's got his more modern look. I like that. I liked the way they did that.
I don't want to put it all to, like, I don't want to make an excuse or blame it all, but was some of that because of COVID?
Yeah, because like from what I've read up on like production of this movie is that, yeah, a lot of it got delayed. That was also mainly due in part to COVID. Like I know they had like an early cut, really like literally done, and then like literally the day before, that's like, or like the day it was supposed to come out, I believe Japan literally went and like closed down because of it. Like everything just like kind of shut down. So because of that, they couldn't premiere it, and then apparently, like during that time, they decided, oh, you know what, we might as well just kind of work on editing the film even more since we're kind of stuck here. And in terms of that, I kind of feel like it was definitely hit by COVID. Well, obviously, but like even more so.
Like again, I don't want to be that guy who like forgives everything because of what happened during the COVID times. But again, it did smell like we're filming during that time and we don't have the necessary resources to make this what we wanted to, which is why even during some of the movie, it did feel like there was some parts where I was like, it feels a little weirdly edited. Like we have too much time on our hands to edit this now. But I don't know. That maybe that's just me because.
Well, let's also put it this way. Interesting facts about this movie: some of the scenes are actually filmed on an iPhone.
No.
Yeah, no, like literally, it was filmed literally on a phone, and they actually like make it a point to point. I was like, oh yeah, like because of like how smartphones like are really small and actually camera quality is actually pretty decent nowadays. Yeah, we actually filmed some of this on a smartphone.
You know what? That really does bring into context that one scene where Asami was like weirdly orange for some fucking reason. I don't know what the fuck that was, but it was there.
Yeah, or like some of the desk scenes or like the table scenes especially, like some of the angles there. Yeah, I've noticed and I've read up that it's like, yeah, no, they shot this on like an iPhone because like, oh yeah, it's small and we can get like really interesting angles, and it's like, okay, that's actually pretty cool.
I very much noticed that, and I was like, that looks a bit phonish. It's a bit phony, as they say.
Was it just me, or when it came to the fight scenes, did it feel like that some of the fighting was a little heavy, if that makes any sense?
Or like how so in that case, out of curiosity?
Like I mean, I'm a little limited when it comes to my Ultraman knowledge, so this might be me just being not indifferent, but like not knowing what I mean, not knowing what it is. But it felt like it didn't feel like, like nimble. It felt more like I was like sometimes like some of the punches were like really heavy, like there was a lot of weight to them.
Okay.
That is an Ultraman.
Yeah, that is pretty much Ultraman at bare bones. And yeah, if anything, I'd say they captured the weight of and scale of the fights pretty nicely with that.
Yeah, Ultraman has always kind of been, I don't want to say slow, but it's always tried to emulate its weight.
Yeah, I would agree. That's definitely a deliberate decision with the speed of everything. I think they do it a little heavier than Ultraman typically tends to do, but I think that's more for the realistic angle they're trying to go with.
Mm-hmm.
Although to be fair, they kind of throw it out the window by the time of this Rob fight, where things just go full nonsense speed with the fight scenes. So,
well, that's just a Rob for you.
That's true.
It's just fine. But yeah, outside of the effects, I guess we talk more about the actual villains and what they are. So, Jay, tell us more about Zarab.
So Zarab, who I'm going to get this out of the way, is voiced by Kenjiro Suda, and he is...
Yes, he fucking is, baby!
He is really good in this, and it's really weird because it's definitely... His performance is very different than he usually does, where it's a very kind of meek, higher pitched voice than he usually does. Like you think Kenjiro Suda, Kenjiro Suda, and you think he's kind of doing like a gruffer, deeper voice, very angry, very emotional, and Zarabi's very different. So I like Zarab as a villain. I like his whole arc where he shows up once Ultraman has kind of become this known element to the world to kind of capitalize on them freaking the fuck out, and he's like, oh, well, I know what makes Ultraman tick, and I know he's your enemy and everything, so if you make me your supreme ruler, basically, I'll tell you how to fight Ultraman. So he basically, his whole thing is, he wants to very much like in the original episode with Zarab, he's trying to make Ultraman the bad guy, so he can kind of take advantage of humanity turning on him so he can kind of step in and invade and take over. And I like the way they do it, where he shows up this kind of semi-benevolent figure where he's trying to manipulate everybody, and he's really like polite and soft-spoken and everything. I like the way he does the character. I like their version of Zarab here. And he has a really good scene with Ultraman too, actually, where he first confronts Ultraman and he kidnaps him, so of course he can impersonate him. And they had this kind of back and forth in the car where Zarab is kind of talking about humanity and how they basically like they signed their shit over willingly, dude. I'm not manipulating anybody, I haven't done anything wrong. And obviously he's lying through his little mouth flap thing there. And then they have another nicer one where after kind of the jig is up and he's there interrogating Ultraman. I like that scene too. That was a really good one. But yeah, he was really good. I really enjoyed his little sequence, I guess is the phrase to use.
I liked his again, going back to
Kenjiro Tsuda
right now, but Kaiba.
Okay.
I liked Kaiba's performance a lot. Like Jay said, he plays him very weirdly meek, and there's something about him that I just kind of, again, he almost plays him that way where he does sound sinister. There's no doubt about that, but he plays him so like, where I'm like, oh, he just wants to be our friend, guys. He's cool. He's a cool little alien. Who doesn't like him? Also, I can't lie. His design when he's in the trench coat is actually pretty.
Okay,
good.
like
It is.
Oh yeah.
I love his design.
Oh yeah,
his
like
trench
not
coat.
gonna lie, that scene got like major laughs out of like everyone in the theater there, like when you first see him.
Yes, it did. For me too.
Same.
Too. Everyone was like, "Wow, that's adorable."
Same here. That was definitely a one where people see him in the fedora and the trench coat, and that's kind of like, I mean, to be fair, you see that look in this day and age. That's kind of an inherent laugh, so it makes sense, and it's especially weird with a giant.
Or like
monster.
the thing that also got an even bigger laugh was just like, oh yeah, no, he's just like this imposing force, just like he's in a dark trench coat. He just wiped out everyone's data, and then just like, oh, you know, we're just gonna form a treaty with them, just like the hard cut of just like them just like taking photos and like handshaking.
That was pretty funny too when he was having that meeting with everybody in the trench coat gear, and they're all like, "All right, what's Ultraman do?" I don't fucking know.
How the fuck does
what are his powers? Fuck, you gotta ask him, bro.
I love that too. It's like, well, they finally get it's like, how does Ultraman get his powers? It's like, oh, it's this bullshit element that you guys don't know about yet. It's like, well, how does he do this? Same thing. How does he do this?
Same thing.
How does he do this? I don't fucking know. I can't. It's like, where does he come from? I can't tell you, bro. Sorry. It's like, well, how does he do this? It's like, you don't fucking ask him. I don't fucking know, dude. Like,
How does he grow? Fuck.
I do love I love that kind of like hesitation before he answers that. And he's
No
just like,
comments.
I don't know, bro.
You gotta ask him, fam. What the fuck you asking me for? You know, I look like Ultraman to you? Racist?
Imagine if I looked like Ultraman. Like, I don't look like anything like Ultraman. It'd be funny if I could look like Ultraman. Though.
It'd be a really funny. It'd be a really funny prank if I could take your identity. You know?
Yeah, I know.
Just saying. Unless.
You know.
But yeah, I like Zarab. He was a fun introductory antagonist to my favorite antagonist, and I think pretty much everybody else's with a brain, Mephiles, who is fucking fantastic in this movie. I love Mephiles. I love 01's dad.
Everybody loves Mephiles. He has gotten the absolute most attention, the most support from people who saw it. He's definitely a show stealer.
Ah, yes, Mephiles. I love Mephiles. Another one of my favorite sayings.
He would say that douche.
But I honestly, I love Mephiles because, and we were having a conversation about this when we first saw the movie. I love Mephiles because he really does feel genuine when he says, I want to take you guys over, but I'm literally not going to do anything to you guys. I just want to be here.
I want to be your god, but I'm not. I'm probably not going to do anything. I'm just going to kind of be here.
I am your king, but I'm the kind of king who just like sits on the throne and really doesn't do much. So you guys have fun. You know, look, you know what? I'll sweeten the deal. Here's a box.
Like pretty much, yeah. Like he's such a charming villain, or like antagonist, I guess, and just like. I don't know. It's really hard to not like him, honestly, because like he's just there, just like, you know what, you guys can do whatever the heck you want. I'm just here for the shits and giggles, and like at the end of the day, what you guys want to do is what you guys want to do. Have fun, you know.
Yeah, I did really like him. I think they kind of made his kind of introductory there a little too derivative of Zarab's, where they're both kind of like this, not necessarily fake niceness with a Mephiles kiss, but they're kind of got that really affable, pleasant demeanor, and they kind of introduce themselves by wreaking havoc that they end up, winning people over by fixing immediately. And they kind of have that semi-sinister nature, and they're trying to make a deal with the government with technology and stuff. So I've seen a couple people complain about it being too similar, and I would agree to an extent where they're different enough where it doesn't feel like the movie's just repeating itself, but I think they probably could have done something a little bit different with Zarab to not make it feel so samey. But I fucking loved Mephiles. I loved his character. Super entertaining, super charming. All of his scenes with Ultraman were really, really good.
I was gonna say real quick before you go into the scenes, I would argue that Mephiles is pretty, in more subtle ways than one, is pretty different than Zarab. Because Zarab was pretty much just out and out, I am going to take you over and you guys are my bitches. Mephiles was more, from the outset, I'm going to take you guys over, but I'm not going to do anything, and you guys are cool. I'm cool. Here's a box. Get big. We were all cool, right? All right, cool. Like, they're different. They have similar-ish motives, but they go through different ways. And I think the movie kind of implies that Mephiles is going to keep his word at the end of the day, even though it would fuck us over in the long run. So I don't see the argument that they're both that similar. You know what I mean?
No, I wasn't saying that they're completely similar, but I was more in the sense that, like, their basic setup to the plot where thing happens because of them. They introduce themselves, and they kind of win humanity over for them. Is that kind of similar basic setup? Where, again, they're different enough where I'm not saying they're completely identical, but I've seen people bring up how they are rather similar in that kind of initial setup to the plot, and I can see where that would be an issue for some people. I personally think they were different enough where it wasn't as big of an issue, but it is worth noting the similarity. But yeah, I really like the stuff with Ultraman and Mephiles, where they have a lot of they have two very, I guess it's one scene technically. They have a very long scene where they're kind of discussing each other's motives and their plans and just the general way. And you get the feeling Mephiles is genuine with his goals here, where he wants to kind of protect humanity, even though in the long run he's essentially weaponizing humanity by turning us into invincible super warriors that he's subtly maybe planning to sell off to the galaxy. And he's kind of unintentionally putting a giant target on Earth doing so. And he might, his end goal seems to be genuine, but he's doing a lot of things that will fuck humanity over kind of in the long run. But he doesn't seem like he's being actively malicious. It seems like he does have genuine motives and genuine reasons for doing what he's doing. And I did like that. I did like that he wasn't like, he turns around a corner and he's immediately a cackling lunatic. I did like that. I did enjoy that, his character. He was a very fun character. He felt like just kind of like a businessman almost. He had the charming personality to him. And I liked the way they kind of their verbal sparring, Ultraman and Mephiles. They have a very solid standing morally, and they've got a lot of overlap, but they're different enough, and I liked the way they handle their conflicts. It's really interesting. It was a very nice, slow scene that wasn't really all that much in the original Ultraman. That was more like Ultra 7 did that a lot. Like the episode with Betton and 7. They have a scene that's basically just like this. Which is good. I'm not saying that's like a bad thing, but I really did enjoy that. It did definitely feel like stuff they did in Showa Ultraman, where you've got this villain just kind of monologuing his motives to the hero, and they're not fighting, they're just like having a debate. It was interesting. It was a nice change of pace from how the movie had been. Nice kind of slow down moment too.
Honestly, yeah, I think it's right up there as my favorite scene, because again, like you said, it's so slow, and it's so methodical, and it's so deliberate with everything they're saying, and it's kind of topped off with honestly probably the best line of the movie. Hey, do you mind going splitsies?
Okay, yeah.
Do you mind splitting the bill, Ultraman?
Yeah, that was a nice humanizing, for lack of a better word, for Mephiles, where they kind of have this moral debate, and they end up reaching an impasse, and they can no longer see eye to eye, and Mephiles is about to storm out, and he's like, "Oh, you mind lending me $20, Ultraman? Just spotted me, bro."
But it's like I said when we were talking the other day, where I like the idea where he says that, obviously needing $20, but at the same time he's mocking him like, "Oh, do you got $20, Ultraman?" Like, he's making fun of the name that they gave him, and I love that shit. Like, it's like, "Oh, look at you, fucking Ultraman doesn't got $20. What are you, poor, you slut?"
Of course, but just like I think if anything, that moment just adds more to his charm. Honestly,
It really does. And honestly, besides a couple of the jankiness, it does lead to the best fight of the movie.
Oh yeah.
Great fight, great music, which brings me to my little thingy here about the music in this movie, which is fucking fantastic, by the way. But also, I love the fact that I'm pretty sure this was because of Anno, because Anno's an insane man. I love how many songs, I'm not going to say lifted, but, and I'm not going to say reused because they're different. How many versions of songs from Shin Godzilla Anno put into this movie? Specifically with the daily life songs, where literally he just took the song from the movie of Shin Godzilla and just he just added a 70s flair to it, which is fucking great.
About that, like the interesting fact about the music is that I went in with fans of the original Ultra series and also fans of Anno's work. So the thing that we all notice is that Anno, or like basically the composer that he got for the movie, Shiro Sagisu, who did Bleach, Evangelion, and Shin Godzilla, is that, especially after watching Shin Godzilla like the night before, that dude loves to reuse tracks. He is definitely and shamelessly reusing a lot of tracks. There's tracks reused from Eva, there's tracks reused from Shin Godzilla, there's probably tracks either with a similar leitmotif from probably Bleach and other places. But yeah, no, like a lot of the music is reused. Granted, all the modern renditions of the original music from the original Ultra series are good, but in terms of like other tracks, kind of hard to ignore.
See, that's the thing. It's obviously on purpose that he's doing that, and in a weird way, I admire it because it sets the tone for the fact that this is still technically, I guess, in the same universe. It's not really, but let's go with it. But it's still technically within the same, I guess, canonicity of the Anno trilogy that we're gonna have. I like it, and I like the idea that it does add a bit more weight to know that, oh well, since this is all in the same universe, all of this shit still has gravity to it from the past, and I like it. I like that shit. Although Persecution of the Masses will always beat the Zetton theme. The Zetton theme is not as good as Persecution of the Masses. Then again, it's a very different song. I admit that. Someone's going to crucify me for saying that, so I don't give a fuck.
I'm pretty sure it's just the Masses going to do that for you.
True enough. But like I said, even Zetton's theme is so weirdly... It's not even... Again, that's why I say it's not the same as Persecution of the Masses, where that is just a holy fucking shit, we're dying. The Zetton theme is more like, oh, well, we're gonna die. Want some coffee? It's just kind of along those lines.
When you think about,
where it's like it's more melancholic.
Well, when you think about it, if you knew that the world was going to end, what would you do? Like, how would you react to that? Everybody else, they don't realize what's going on. They're living in blissful ignorance and they're gonna die. But if you know that, you either can panic and people think you're a madman, or you just accept it and you...
I'd kill myself to spite whoever's going to destroy the world. Just complete dead stop. I knew that was going to work. All right.
Like I said, I like the idea behind the music with Zetton, especially, where none of it is doomsaying. None of it is really like hardcore, we're all gonna die, run for your fucking lives somewhere.
Oh yeah.
It's just honestly, I almost want to say it sounds like a funeral procession, if anything. Where with Persecution of the Masses, it really was just, holy shit, look at this fucking thing that's happening, run. And this is just like, well, we're already dead, and this is just the funeral procession of what we're hearing, basically. And I don't know, I love that. I actually really like that idea behind it. Which then brings us to the final main antagonist. I know Zetton is still an antagonist, but he's not a character.
Well, Zetton's never been a character. He's just kind of a thing.
Exactly. But we have Zoffy, or It's My Turn on the Xbox. As he's completely stood.
I liked the idea of making Zoffy a bad guy. I think it was an interesting subversion. Both in the way they do it is, of course, Zoffy just kind of shows up near the end to kind of resolve the plot, or not necessarily resolve the plot here, but in the original he kind of shows up just kind of almost a borderline Deus Ex Machina to save Ultraman after Zetton kicked his ass. Whereas here he just kind of shows up to involved with Zetton, but here he's like, humanity just needs to fucking go. We need to go. This whole fucking solar system needs to go. It's gone. It's too late. We can't fix it. Shit's fucked. Rocks fall. Everybody dies. Which I liked. I liked the idea of the Ultras not necessarily being these hero figures, but being very, almost kind of like intergalactic, not necessarily even warlords. They're kind of observers. They're almost like the Federation on crack in this, where they are the moral guardians of the universe, and if things go wrong, they are there to unfuck it. And if need be, they're going to wipe out the entire solar system. And I like that way too, where they're like, Zoffy's just kind of like, listen, the way things are now, if they keep going with humanity, they're going to become another us. And you've seen what humanity is like now. Imagine if humanity was as powerful as us. So they just need to go. Earth needs to go. The Milky Way needs to fucking go. I don't even know. Okay, no, that's the galaxy. Like this whole solar system, we're just gone. We need to destroy it. Humanity.
Y'all fucked up way too much.
We have gone beyond fucked up. This is gone beyond this is just full on zoinks, Ultraman. Okay.
I was gonna say
zoinks.
we've gone beyond. We've gone beyond fucking around. We're finding the fuck out.
Pretty much. So he has this conversation with Ultraman where very interesting that they did this. They gave Ultraman a real name, which they have never at any fucking point before this given him a real name. He's always just been Ultraman. Lipia, as they call him. Which is okay. It's kind of a weird name. I mean, but then again,
probably means something in some language that nobody knows.
To be fair, other members of their species consider names are Astra, of course, Zoffy, 7, 80, which is not the number. His name is 80.
0.
And then Ken. So, yeah, you've got a lot of really fucking weird names.
Oh my god, Jay, you're going to be really pissed off at what that name means.
What?
It is an anagram for Piali, which means pearly, as a reference to how shiny he is.
Oh my god.
Huh.
I know.
Yeah.
You know what?
I rolled my eyes so hard, I'm blind.
Oh yeah, and then Chad just posted this here to remind me.
Yeah.
Where Zoffy is gold and black to kind of evoke the early kind of prototype designs for him as early concept art. And even then, him being evil is based on a very obscure bit of trivia where everybody thought Zoffy was going to be a bad guy, which is like ultra mega nerd tier kind of thing for Anno to do, which I enjoyed. I really liked that.
Well, Jay, since we're here, why don't you explain that? On the spot.
Yeah, basically, just to kind of give a long story short, if I'm understanding correctly, apparently back in like the 60s, like when Ultraman was initially coming out, there was like an encyclopedia saying like listing out all the different kaiju and like seijin that are going to be like either appearing in show or that appeared in show, and then one of them was listed as Zoffy Seijin, or like Alien Zoffy. And according to that, I believe it was like an Ultraman lookalike, kind of similar to like imitation Ultraman or like fake Ultraman, or basically however you want to translate that name, Nisei Ultraman. And initially, he was supposed to be like the final boss of like the initial 66 Ultraman. But then, for some reason, something got lost in translation, and there was like probably like an editing error or something like that. And then initially, it's supposed to be a hero, and basically, he's making a deep cut to that in terms of like, oh wow, yeah, that was kind of an error they made back in the day. So here's another deep cut, buddy. So
yeah. But I liked Zoffy. He was very similar to how he appeared in the original, where he's basically Ultraman's boss, and he's like, what are you doing slumming it with these fucking filthy humans? Like, why do you care about them? Why you've become corrupted. You are not the noble shining warrior you should be. And he kind of they have this back and forth there, and Zoffy's just like, I don't care. I'm blowing up the earth. You can't do anything about it. You can either come home with me or you can die. And I really like the way they kind of build up to Zoffy's not necessarily even like becoming good, but the way he gets won over, where Ultraman's unwavering tenacity in trying to save humanity kind of wins him over, and like, you really are this. He, again, to quote the show, the line they lifted directly, have you really become so fond of humans? I really like that. I really liked Zoffy's mini arc there, and the way they pair him up with Ultraman in this compared to the original. It's a subversion not done for subversion's sake, where they take the expected version of Zoffy, and they kind of put a new twist on it. And I really liked that. I really liked the way they did that. It wasn't just like a carbon copy of the same way they always do it, where Ultraman, oh he's dead, but suddenly there's another one and saves him, blah, blah, blah. The way they always fucking do it. So I enjoyed that. It was a nice way to do it.
See, it was interesting because, again, I have... And I think I've mentioned this before. Like, I have an appreciation for the show Ultraman, but I've never seen the 66 Ultraman. So all of this was uncharted territory to me. All this was new, and to see Zoffy, somebody that I didn't know. Again, I have no attachment to what his character was like in 66 or wherever he was from. To me, it was interesting to see them, again, like Jay said, take this idea that the Ultramen aren't heroes. They're not even police officers. They're just people that, like, dude, just watch. We're just watchers at this point. Because if we do anything, we're going to get completely fucked. Like, if we do anything that's... It's almost like the prime directive out of Star Trek when you think about it. Did I just say Star Trek? Anyways, Star Trek, when you think about it. Where it's like, we can't influence this. Because if we do, it is completely fucked. Like, we're all the way fucked. And I like that. I like that idea. I like that. I like that idea, and I like the concept of him. Again, like you said, not turning good, but almost understanding. Like, you know what? You're right. I guess I was a bit too brash with my bullshit. You know, blowing up the solar system. I guess that was a bit much. That's my fault. I like
My
that.
bad.
We'll call that an oopsie whoopsie, and we'll just agree to not talk about it again.
Like, ever.
Until the
I like
sequel.
that. We let's just. But I do like that we're just like let's just agree that was a bad idea, and it's not my fault. It's not your fault, but you know it's
the uncomfortable color adjustment.
basically.
I mean, I love the ending where it's like, oh, look, hey, I mean, you're still gonna be on trial, bro, but it's just we'll just agree to not mention this part. You know, we'll call it.
Look, we're gonna kill you, but don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Like we're
We
still
can
gonna
have
kill
a
you.
little bit of this stricken from the record.
We'll give
gonna
you a
expunge
mulligan.
it.
How about that?
But again, I like that, and it kind of comes to weirdly the part of the show where I was thinking the message because Jay and I, we already have our interpretation of what the message is, and we already have Phil's as well. But
Yes.
Chad, what is your interpretation of what this movie is trying to say? And then everybody else can go.
That's a really good question. Kind of wish I was asked about this on like the on the day of, like, when it was fresh in my head, but honestly, I think it's more in tone, more of a hopeful movie. Definitely a lot more hopeful than, like, say, Shin Godzilla. Like, Shin Godzilla, you obviously have the message of, yeah, no, we have to, like, coexist with Godzilla, whether we like it or not. And then with this movie, I think it's definitely more of, like, a message of, like, hope. In terms of just, like, in terms of humanity, if we all come together, we can literally do anything, which is admittedly a bit cliche, especially for Tokusatsu. But I think, if anything, that was kind of like the vibe I was getting from that movie. Especially with the repeated, I guess, messages of like, well, aren't we buddies? Aren't we partners? why didn't you get me coffee? But like, aren't we buddies kind of a thing? And I think with that, it's just like, because of that kind of message, and especially like what Anno and Higuchi have gone on record for saying is like, yeah, no, we wanted this movie to be more hopeful as Ultraman is a symbol of hope. And I think, if anything, that's probably the main message and like the main thing I got from this movie overall. But yeah, I don't know. What did you guys think about it though?
Well, I'll go first because I'm right. Anyway, no, the message I got was actually, again, it kind of mirrors what you were saying, where it is a bit more hopeful, because the initial thing that I was talking to Jay and Phil about was, my interpretation was a very existential movie where it basically said, hey guys, if a fucking alien comes down tomorrow, we're not ready for any of this. What are we doing? Like what are we doing here squabbling amongst each other like children? If an alien comes down tomorrow, we're going to fucking die. Like, if Zoffy was real, we'd all be dead by now, because we'd all be completely fucked. But the part where it gets hopeful was, again, around the time where they were trying to defeat Zetton. And I like the idea because, again, the idea is still, if we don't know how to deal with this shit because we're too busy squabbling like children. But if for just one moment, 1 minute, we can all just get together, shut the fuck up, and compromise with each other, we could literally do something that seemed impossible at some point. And I like that idea. I like that idea where, again, it's very existential, but it has a hopeful existential message where, no, we are not ready because of what we're doing down here, but maybe we might be one day. Maybe one day, if we all get together, we might be ready for something like this.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think definitely. I think I would generally agree. This one's definitely a more hopeful movie. I lean more towards Chad's interpretation there, where it's very much a humanity fuck yeah kind of movie, and a little bit with AJ. But honestly, for me, it was more the commentary they were going for. It was definitely it was sort of a commentary about geopolitics and the arms race and the way humanity has kind of scrambled for power, and much like the both of you said, the end goal is ultimately peaceful coexistence, and how we're really not ready for it, and it requires a sort of an outside context threat to get ready for it. Because you look at the progression of technology in the movie, where the first kaiju shows up and we have no idea how to prepare for it, and we end up defeating it, just by shooting it with a bunch of rockets, and new monsters keep showing up, and we have to keep changing the way we're reacting to it. And there's a lot of the commentary with that too, where of course it gets to the point where we're buying nukes from they're buying nukes from the U.S. and the way they're commentating about it, and the once Ultraman shows up, the way the other countries kind of want Ultraman, they want to weaponize Ultraman, and they try to weaponize. That was kind of Mephiles' plan, was to get them to weaponize the growth technology that Ultraman uses to kind of turn the human race into like bioweapons, essentially. And that's kind of the way it goes, where even Ultraman's power scaling, kind of the way he reacts to new kaiju showing up, and the way he has to kind of change the way he reacts. And I thought that was a little bit of a less subtle message commentary than with Shin Godzilla, where that was a little more pointed and a little more specifically, this is how it would be if this kind of scenario happened in real life. Here it's a little bit more of, this is how humanity as a whole would kind of react to this, but then this is also how the governments are going to react, and it kind of goes for a couple of different angles at once. And the overall message he goes for is a little bit more muddied in this, but I think it is ultimately a much more hopeful story than in the Shin Godzilla, where at the end of the day, like you guys said, the conclusion is ultimately, if we manage to put down our weapons and unite for a common goal, we can finally, actually bring peace. But unfortunately, as we see in this movie, that's only going to happen if we have to face a threat that is completely without, completely beyond the context of humanity as like a race.
Wait, Jay. So, a movie that has to deal with humanity coming together to beat an alien threat. This sounds to me
Oh no.
like a better version of The Watchmen.
I was going to use the Watchmen comparison when I was talking about, the final hopeful message is humanity needs to find a common goal to unite with. That's kind of what Watchmen's ending was, where Ozymandias was, trying to resolve all of the problems of humanity and unite humanity as one by introducing a new, completely literally alien threat for us to all kind of unite against. And then, of course, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, and that plan was completely retarded because, of course, it solved nothing. But again, I get that's kind of the angle I wanted to go for, but it felt a little too obvious for me to point out.
Well, see, it was obvious to who, Jay? Let's be fair. But that's what I was gonna say. It's that thing where like I did notice the parallels between that, and also, of course, it's not a fucking lie like in the comics where this actually does happen to the people, and they're all actually fucking terrified of it. But again, I do like that. Phil.
Well, I looked at the movie as kind of... when I looked at it, I said, okay, so humanity is literally at a point where giant monsters are coming out of the ground, coming out everywhere, and are attacking the city, the cities of the earth. No matter what we do, or at least Japan, no matter what we do, we can't stop these things. And then all of a sudden, something comes from the sky and starts fighting them. And to me, I'm thinking, I'm thinking, how are we going to react when we see something that falls out of the sky and starts fighting the threat that we have failed to fight? Are we going to accept it, or are we going to fight him? Or it, or whatever it is. And that's the question. Are we going to be able to do that? Not to mention, when looking at, like, with the when it comes to Zetton, you look at it, how would humanity accept its own demise? How would they accept it? Would you accept it in a manner of panic, or would you just sit there in quiet acceptance?
Yeah, I think that is kind of at the end of the day, we all kind of reached the same conclusion where the message of the movie is ultimately a hopeful one where...
Fuck muties.
Well, that's always the message of all media. But the message behind the movie was definitely humanity can eventually find a common goal to unite for and stop fighting. But I think, again, it kind of loses itself where, as with every single other time this message has been done, that common goal ultimately is just another thing to fight. So, not even necessarily always literally, but most of the times literally another thing to fight instead of us.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's necessarily bad because of that, but I think the message is a little weaker, if not, not necessarily because it's hopeful, but because it's that kind of moral that's never really had a solid answer for.
In what way?
Again, like I said, it's that moral of humanity needs a common goal is usually ultimately resolved by a new thing to kill instead of each other. So I appreciate the more hopeful message, and I like that it was a more hopeful message compared to Godzilla, again, to compare and contrast the originals, but the actual end moral was not particularly executed well, simply because of the circumstances leading up to it.
Do you think it would? Oh, sorry. I was going to say, do you think it would have been better if after they killed Zetton, they kind of looked at each other and they thought, this is a good idea. Why don't we just do this more?
That would have been a little too on the nose, I think. I think the way they kind of set it up with Taki and everybody else kind of having the global conference about how to stop Zetton was good, and the way technology kind of advances.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, would the solution to that conundrum basically just be they're united to not kill something?
A permanent alliance, I guess.
Like what I'm saying is like they're uniting to not kill something. It's to figure something out, basically.
Yeah, I think it would have been a little better, but at the same time, it would have felt a little tacked on if they kind of did that afterwards. If they kind of had that.
Well, I'm not saying after. I'm saying if that's the goal at that point. Like for 1 second, right? Zetton doesn't exist, and they just want to figure out let's just throw like spatium. They want to figure out what spatium is, how to use it, how to control it, basically, and they realize that they can't by themselves. They can't do it by themselves. They need everybody, and that's what the end goal of the movie. Not to destroy Zetton, but to figure out how to use spatium, basically.
That would have been like, as a moral, that probably would have been better. But as an actual climax, I think that would have been not nearly as good.
Well, of course, but that's what I'm saying. I'm providing a solution for the moral conundrum, not the climax of the movie.
I guess that's fair. I guess if you try to make the solution something that isn't just here's a new villain to fight, it works a little better. But at the same time, ultimately, it's one of those morals that's really hard to do well. So I'm not necessarily blaming Anno for it, but I know just like from past experience, whatever that moral's been tried to be done, nobody really I've ever seen has really been able to solidly nail that execution.
So what you're saying is we should be like Nolan with Oppenheimer and fucking nuke a house?
Yes, we should build our own nuke. We should build our own beta system and turn giant so we can film it.
Man, who the fuck gave him the money to do that?
I don't know.
Who the fuck unironically looked at Nolan and be like, yes, just get the guy a nuke. Give him a nuke. Like, who the fuck? Why would you do that? Why would you do this?
He made The Dark Knight.
Anyways. Is that what he's going to write his entire career on? Is that what he's going to write his career on, The Dark Knight?
No, I guess he did. Yeah, I guess he did do Inception too.
He did Interstellar.
So. Interstellar.
He did Inception. He did Memento. He did Interstellar, the Dark Knight trilogy.
To be fair, based off Dark Knight Rises, I wouldn't give him shit. Anyways, I think we have pretty much covered everything that I wanted to cover with this movie, unless Jay can think of something.
No, I think we kind of talked about everything. The music is good. I liked the original theme they had at the end.
Oh my god, it's so good!
Good old Hachi P doing his music.
Oh wait, we didn't mention this, Jay.
Did we?
The credits joke.
Oh,
the beginning credits joke, that was fun.
Yeah.
Everybody in the theater. No. Everybody in the theater when they saw that cracked the fuck up because they were like, "Wait, what? Oh, they're just doing this to fuck with us." Okay.
Yeah, so they replicate the opening of the original series where if you've never seen it, and I'm sure you've probably seen it, it starts with like the swirled colors that slowly unswirl to show it says Ultra Q, and that kind of burns up and then it says Ultraman. And they do that, but instead of Ultra Q, it says Shin Godzilla, and then it kind of dissipates into Shin Ultraman, which is a clever gag. I kind of like that they did that. That was a nice one. But yeah, that ending song was really good. I really enjoyed it. His music is good. I think that's everything else that I wanted to say. Two things I had in my particular showing is there's a fucking cameo by fucking Cube from Madoka Magica.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Very brief cameo in the sense that there's a shot during the ending sequence when they're trying to figure out how to stop Zetton, and you see a silhouette of it on a coffee mug, and that's it. Disappointed nobody but me and like one other guy reacted to that. I was kind of surprised nobody even really like
because nobody wants to admit that they watched it.
I guess that's true.
fair.
And this one's entirely on my showing and is of course not applicable. But at the end of the movie, when the Toho Studio logo pops up, some fucking guy in my theater is like, "Wait, Toho, where the hell was Reimu?" I'm like,
what an asshole!
You asshole! Like I laughed, but like, come on, you dick.
You had to be that guy.
You had to be.
I mean, if we're just gonna go into our like miscellaneous things with our theater showings. Mine was kind of weirdly packed, like weirdly full, and I'm like, who are you people? Where did you come from? No one likes Ultraman. I do, but you don't. But I do think it was kind of full with a bunch of people who watched Heisei Ultraman and people who just saw, hey, Ultraman. I know kind of what that might be is. I'll watch that. So we had a bunch of like, I don't want to say normies because I don't want to sound like that guy, but normies. I'm like, you guys don't know what's going on, do you? Okay. Well, I hope you have fun. And then they did the Ultraman quiz, which was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, you got that quiz, didn't you?
I did, but the thing is, just like, the really sad part about it was like, I was trying to like find my group of 6 other people that were going with me to the friggin' theater. And, like, all of them, because, like, I bought my tickets online for everyone, and, like, the thing was, like, everyone was coming at different times and no one was, like, communicating. So I missed a majority of that quiz, and that was really sad.
I didn't catch any of it, unfortunately. I don't know if my showing just didn't have it, but when I got there, it was just basically advertisements and then the movie started.
Oh, what theater line did you go?
I did AMC.
I also...
And they usually do those when they do Fathom events. So.
I went to a cinema.
I did AMC as well. They actually had it, though. Because, like...
I had AMC.
So I guess I just showed up too late. I don't know.
Perhaps.
I missed the
Probably.
Ultraman quiz. I had to hightail it from work just to get there. I made it just in time.
Which one of these is the original Ultraman? They look
It's
the fuck.
Zoffy.
I knew the answer the second I
I know,
looked at it.
listen.
Well, of course you did, you nerd.
It was freaking like Zoffy, Jack,
It was Zoffy, Jack, and
yeah,
Root alongside Ultraman.
There we go.
Which, to be fair, they do all look the same. That is kind of a deliberate design decision with those 4, but I still knew which one was it.
Ultraman. They all look the same.
That's racist,
Really?
Phil.
Always.
Have you seen Tiga?
Yes.
Like, Zoffy is cheating because it's literally the same suit. And, like, Reboot is definitely intended to look a lot like Ultraman, but he's kind of all, like, gross and greely. Jack is the only one where, like, if you put him and the original Ultraman next to each other, I'm like, I could tell the difference because I'm a nerd, but if you asked, you know, a random person or even, like, a more casual fan, yeah, I don't think they would probably get it.
I was, like, kind of unironically mad when I saw them together, and I was like, it's the same fucking person!
AJ, that's racist. That's
It
ultra
was-
To be fair,
Yes.
in pre-production,
You know why,
it
Chad?
was
Because
supposed
I'm
to be
just
the
that
same guy.
Ultramazing.
Thank you for saying that.
Jerk.
When I heard that, Chad, I was this close of just walking out.
Well, that's Ultramazing.
Because because the guy that they had saying it, you could hear the little bit of light left in them. Just
Wait, was
going
it
out.
Shawn Nichols
You
or like
could
the guy
hear-
that they usually have for like the live streams?
Shawn
Nichols, or like he was
Oh,
well, he was the token foreigner in Ultraman Max.
yeah,
There
it
we
was
go.
him.
Yeah,
was him.
yeah, he was at he was actually at the panel we went to for Anime Expo.
Yeah,
Was he?
Yes, he
Yeah, I
was.
heard he was there.
That just shows you how much I remember of that fucking panel. To be fair, what do you remember from that panel except for Ultra 7? Don't lie.
I remember the Spider-Man. I remember the guy there dressed up like Spider-Man.
You remember us getting there, and I'm just like, why are we here?
I remember us wanting to murder half the staff there because of how much of a pain in the ass it was.
But nothing about the actual.
No, I don't really.
There was something about Ultraman.
At an Ultraman panel, no, that doesn't sound right to me.
I mean, I don't know, bro. It's a rare occasion to hear something about Ultraman in an Ultraman panel.
That's true.
It's not as good
No,
as
but yeah,
Terminator.
but it was kind of funny to to hear him say that, and you just hear him die inside. Then again, most of the dub actors sounded like they were dying inside.
Wait, you saw did you go see the dub and the sub?
No, I went to go see the sub, but all the trivia.
Oh,
was
that
in
one.
dub.
Okay. So.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
Yes. But again, Sean Nipples. I don't know, man. You're just. I feel bad for you for having to say Ultramazing with a straight face. I gotta commend him. He's working.
He's doing his best.
Working.
He's trying to do his best to get Ultra out to the States. So.
Yeah.
He's
made it far. I'll give him that.
I'm trying to think of another pun. He's trying to fuck it. I don't know. He tried to make this movie an ultra mega win.
That's
That's
Power Rangers.
No. I am going to combine them to piss people off.
Anyways, we're going to disown AJ as of next recording whenever we do this again. So.
You mean when we do Kiva?
Don't remind me.
Yep.
I mean, look, you can do Kiva, or you can do the mystery box.
Can we
Box. What's in the
just
box?
Can we just do Dawn Brothers and be done with it?
No, Dawn Brothers isn't fucking February, you retard.
It'll give us time to watch it.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna give you time to watch it. In the meantime, we're not gonna do anything. Anyways, so going into our final thoughts, let's give it to.
I feel like because I still kind of want to hear about Phil's and also my own theater experience in terms of just this movie. So.
Oh yeah, dude, go for it. I mean, no, I
yeah, definitely. Rather, Phil, you can go first because mine was interesting, to say the least. But
oh, you did crack before you went to go see it.
Well, for me, it was. No, I would. Chad, if you did crack before that, I'm going to be very, very surprised.
Well, I mean, okay, first of all, that would not be surprising because we already know I already do that for these kinds of things. So, it's like the unstated facts that should be more or less pretty obvious. It's like asking, why is the sky blue? Did Chad do crack before going to the theater? Probably. But anyways, continue though.
When I got to the theater, I went to go see the Japanese dub.
Yeah.
And I hightailed it from work as fast as I could because I literally had I had to drive 20. I had to get 15 to something that started within 15 minutes, and it would take me 20 minutes to drive there. So I'm speeding down there like a madman, and I'm getting stopped at every red light. I'm like, come on! But I get to the theater, and the guy at the cash. Oh wait, okay. So I get to the theater, and I make it in. Now he tells me there's assigned seating, but you can pick whichever seat you want. And I was like, there's nobody here. Why is nobody here? And he's like, it's only the first night. They'll come another night. I wanted to tell him, there's only 2 nights. But I was like, fuck it, I gotta go. So I get in, and it's an okay audience. We got some old people in there for some reason. I'm talking grandmas in there for some reason. I don't know. We had a few people that I think were casual Ultra fans, I want to say. But what got people laughing in the theater was not what you would think. When they would censor out the curse words or when something ridiculous would happen, that's when a laugh would come about. It was an okay movie. It was fine. Well, at least from my experience. It was nothing special.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. So that's actually pretty interesting considering my experience was kind of weird. Similar to AJ, mine was oddly filled. I don't know why, but then again, the neighborhood I was also going to watch this in was also primarily mostly Asian American / Chinese American by demographics. So I cosplayed as Ultraman Jeed, or Riku from Jeed. No one really noticed. I was kind of sad. I think near the end of the movie, after we were all walking out, or because I went with a group of friends. One of them being a giant Tokusatsu fan, one of them being an ANNO fan, and then the other 3 just kind of being just casual movie fans / we know Ultraman through pop culture. Yeah, I remember distinctly hearing people commenting on my cosplay saying, wait, like, I think they were questioning, like, whether or not I was cosplaying. And it was kind of weird. I was kind of sad. But aside from that, though, it was really oddly, how would I put it? Just, it was filled. It was oddly filled. And I don't know why a lot of these people were here. But the other curious thing I was overheard from people is that they were also talking about Shin Kamen Rider after this, like after the movie ended. It's like, oh yeah, what's next? Oh yeah, it's this thing called Shin Kamen Rider, and like other things, and just like I don't know, it's got me hopeful. But I think the main thing I also want to ask, like kind of just branching off of this, would be like, how do you think, like considering that this is more or less the first time we're getting like an actual tokusatsu movie in theaters in the States, how do you think the future is looking for this, just kind of going forward, for all of you?
Well, I'm glad you asked.
Well, based on the reaction from my showing, probably solid, because again, I had a packed house myself.
Besides the one guy who got thrown out for jerking off, it was pretty bad.
Well, that happens at every showing.
Well, so what do I think of the future for these kinds of movies? I think it's a very good sign because let's be honest, Ultraman may have the bigger foothold, quote unquote, in America, but it's not as popular as Kamen Rider in that sense either. I think when Shin Rider comes out, I'm gonna make a bold prediction, Jay, and I don't care if anybody makes fun of me. I think it's gonna break the 1 million mark.
It might.
In America. Because look at where Shin Ultraman hit, and I'm like, you know what? We might be able to hit the 1 million mark with fucking Shin Kamen Rider. I think we could do it. I think it's possible.
It's entirely possible.
I think it might be the first tokusatsu movie since, I don't know, fucking Power Rangers to hit. Oh no, I guess if you want to count Godzilla, the American Godzillas, but like. It might be one of the first tokusatsu movies in a long time to hit the 1 million mark within like 2 days. I fully believe it can do so.
Well, I guess it depends on the release schedule and how that affects it. So, but I mean, honestly, with the turnout and the general overall box office Shin Ultraman got, which was like, I think a little under 800,000 for the 2 nights. You know. I'm sure it'll probably get equal to, if not double that, if we get Shin Rider in a theater over here.
Yeah, I think we got it. I think it's going to be incredibly successful once it comes down here, and it's going to be incredibly successful whatever else comes down here. So I see it. I believe it.
Yeah, because the general reception to, again, I don't want to be the guy who says normies unironically, but the general reception to people who went to go see this movie who aren't people like us, it was genuinely really positive, and it was an overall genuinely well accepted response to the movie. Everybody I saw it with, everybody who was in the theater and loved the hell out of it. I haven't seen anybody say, like, unironically at least, say this movie wasn't good, or say this movie was bad, or anything like that. So I think even like from that general perspective, the reaction to this, something like Kamen Rider, or more standard Ultraman coming out over here, I think that's probably going to start getting a little bit more recognition because of how this was received.
But Jay, where's Belial?
A little
I'm
Belial.
gonna kill you. I will kill you.
What about?
But Jay, where's Belial?
Okay, like here's the thing. Like,
Where's Dark Lugiel?
okay? Like the really funny thing I noticed on Fathom Events like page, it's like they had like a blog post saying it's like, oh, the Hitchhiker's Guide to like the Ultra Universe, and then like they list out all these like Ultra heroes. And then for some reason they have like Belial early style on there listed as a hero, and I'm just like,
Belial was never a hero.
see?
I mean, technically, if we're saying early style, he was a hero. He was kind of a dick, but he was a hero.
But Jay, what about Gamma Future?
With the That's not even. What are you fucking talking about?
Yeah, this is just some of the shit that I saw on fucking Twitter, dude, from fucking idiots who don't know what they're talking about. What about Game of Future? What about exciting blowjob? What the fuck was this form called?
Exciting blowjob. Oh, sign me the fuck up.
That's Ultraman. I don't know. Ugu.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's gonna be an Ultraman song. Ultraman Ugu. We completely derailed this entire conversation.
All right, so I think we should.
You know what? Well, that's how you know the episode's over.
Yeah, so I think we should go into overall final thoughts, though. Like overall final thoughts.
Well, Chad, since you recommended it, why don't you?
Alrighty, so I guess kind of at the end of the day with this movie, because like I've kind of previously stated throughout the whole episode, I did go with a big group of friends. One of them being a giant Tokusatsu fan who loved it. Granted, and then I also went with like other people that were not big Tokusatsu fans at all, or really who didn't know anything really about it. Yeah, no, like the reaction they got was they freaking liked it. My friends are now quoting Mephiles in our conversations because, as always, one of my favorite sayings is now one of my favorite sayings. So,
One of my favorite sayings. One of my favorite sayings.
yes.
My least favorite saying.
Okay, you anti-Mephiles, Phil. Mephiles? Oh! Anyways, I know, like, it's one of those movies I wish honestly had like more time in theaters, because I can definitely tell that there are definitely a lot of people that definitely want to see it on the big screen in Japanese. Pretty much I talked to like my dad after I came back from the movie, who was asking me about my time with it, and legitimately he was like, oh wow, like they used that kaijin or like that kaiju, but they didn't use like Zetton. Wow, that's kind of weird. And I was like, yeah, like if I were ever given the chance, I would have liked to have gone to see the movie with like my dad, who grew up on this franchise. But I think overall the movie's a solid 8.5 or 9 out of 10, frankly, for me. It feels a little episodic at times. But granted, the fact that it's just literally a world where they point out for some reason they're just kaiju in Japan, and we're just kind of dealing with that, and the fact that they just kind of realize that and kind of make that point just from the get-go. I really enjoyed this, and considering the fact that Higuchi and Anno were very big fans of Ultraman, more so than Godzilla, it makes me really, really excited for Shin Kamen Rider whenever that comes out in Japan. And if it comes to America, which I think it is according to the Anime Expo panel that we were at last year. No idea when, but I really hope it's soon. But, yeah, no, like, I really enjoyed this movie, and I would most definitely love to go watch it again.
Jay?
Yeah, I think from an overall standpoint, fucking radiator has been driving me crazy. Sorry. I don't know if you can hear that. Or I don't know if it's going to show up on the recording, but like radiator's been making this like dripping noise for like a month now. Kind of like that, except it's like loud and metallic. Anyways, I'm just going to keep talking over it. At the end of the day, I think Shin Godzilla was a better movie overall. It was a much more solidly put together film. There was a lot less fluff, a lot less like gripes. But I really loved the hell out of this movie. I thoroughly was entertained from beginning to end. There was never a scene where I was not interested. There was never a scene where I wasn't, focusing on the movie. There was all these little details crammed in and around the background. All these fun little digs and deep cuts and references to the original show. And even on a such an insignificant level, like this character is standing in the exact same spot and framed in the exact same way as this one scene from this one episode. Like, stuff like that. I really enjoyed all of that, the attention to detail. It was a absolutely fantastic movie. I would agree, it does get a little too episodic, especially in the first half of the movie, up to the point where... Honestly, I think up to the point where Mephiles shows up is really episodic, and it kind of it's kind of a detriment to the overall script of the movie. But I wouldn't necessarily say it's not watchable. I absolutely did really, really enjoy this, and I would recommend you go and check this out as soon as you're able to.
Phil?
Well, I went into it like basically like, oh, I'm this is I don't really watch Ultra that much, so I went into there with an open mind. I thought it was actually I thought it was fun. I thought it was a fun movie. Granted, there were a few too many times where I kept saying to myself, it feels like it's going a little too fast. Like, there's so many different plot points, but like we talked about last time, I think that's what the point of it was, that it was supposed to be random like that. I mean, if I knew more about the original Ultra going into it, I probably would have been in the theater gushing like, oh my god, that's Zoffy, or Mephiles! And
Well, I'm glad now you would have known the fuck out of everybody.
well, to be honest, I kind of would have preferred going into the theater doing that because honestly, I probably would have gotten a lot more enjoyment out of it. Not to say I didn't enjoy it, but...
Bro, Lewis would have got your ass kicked, too.
Bring it on. I can take them on.
Bitch, you can
In
be
a fight,
whatever.
right?
Yes, in a fight.
Zoffy,
you had to think about
Mr.
it.
Zoffy is gonna come out of the movie screen and kick your ass for screaming.
He's going to ask if you have games on your phone and then kick your ass.
Okay, before I let Phil finish, the only thing I can think of now that Chad said that is those memes where, like, it's like those weirdly realistic hands coming at you through the screen, but it's Zoffy.
It's like,
Oh, I gotta
shut
do that
up!
now.
That's amazing. Anyway, go on, Phil.
So, did I enjoy it? Yeah. Yes. Am I glad that I saw it? Yes. Did I have problems with it? Yes, but that's because I was looking at it from a film perspective as well, instead of just as an Ultra movie entirely, though you also have to look at it from a movie perspective anyway. I think...
Snob.
What?
Go on.
Honestly, I think if you like Ultra, you're gonna like this. It honestly makes me want to watch a little more Ultra just to get into it, but in time I'll get into it. But it sounds real. You know what? I recommend it. Go and see it when you can.
Anyways, so yes, my final thoughts. Yes, the movie is fantastic. I love the movie. It has a legitimately fun cast, a legitimately fun soundtrack, some fun fights. I think I mentioned it to Jay when I came in. I felt like a kid coming off of a Power Rangers high. You know, you're seeing the Power Rangers going off their fucking rocker, and it's like, oh my god, it's so fucking cool. The same thing with this movie. It felt fun. Like, it was a roller coaster. Don't get me wrong. And there are certainly problems with its pacing that I feel can be fixed, though I don't know how much of that is editing fixing or writing fixing. That's up to you. But I do think that the movie overall is a fantastically fun time. And if you get a chance to go watch it, go watch it. Maybe go watch it in IMAX like Chad did, because maybe then you might have a better appreciation.
I did not
for the
watch this in
effects
IMAX,
on
and
your
this
first
was
time
not
around.
available in IMAX. I think it was just filmed in IMAX, though. Aside from also being used for an iPhone camera, but it's neither here nor there.
Well, either
good
way,
enough for
I feel either way, I feel like you could probably go out and find this in the biggest screen that you can, the best sound system you can, and I think you would have a fun time with it. So yeah, go watch it. Anyway, so Mystery Wheel time.
You know what? I'm too tired. I just kind of want to go to bed.
Same.
Damn, the wheel
Jesus,
finally got
you
him.
fucking... Were you actually pushing... Do you have a physical wheel now? I heard that squeak. Jesus.
I did. I have a legit wheel.
Yeah,
in
he's
my
being
room
held by
that I
gunpoint by
have
a wheel
all-
at this point.
You know what? I'm surprised.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you haven't bought a legitimate wheel at this point.
I couldn't because every fucking time we take something off, I had to put something back on it.
I mean, I guess that's fair.
And that gets annoying after a while.
So I guess our fate is sealed for Kiva then. Wow.
Yes.
We're gonna do it. We're actually gonna do it. We're gonna do it, guys.
Neo
All right.
Yeah, just wait until Shin Kamen Rider comes out in theaters next month, and then we have to review that instead.
But then we gotta do Dawn Brothers.
Actually, you know, it's funny you say that, Chad, because it does come out in like 2 months.
Yeah, it does come out in March, but it's just like it'd be funny if it just came out like randomly in February for some reason.
You know what, Phil? If we do Dawn Brothers and you don't make it because you didn't finish it, I'm going to laugh at you. Anyways,
We're gonna
yes.
we're gonna make you wear a sign that said "Could not finish Dawn Brothers" by the end of the year, and we're gonna make you
Absolute
wear
plan.
that at JWH.
No, you're not.
Yes.
Yes, you are. Anyways, so yes, next week or next time or whatever the fuck is going to be Kamen Rider Kaiba with Nayo.
Oh, Kamen Rider
Fingers.
Kaiba?
That
You
actually
mean
sounds
the
really-
duelist? The first-rate duelist?
Yes, and not the guy who died.
Yeah,
of
that was
cancer.
Vale.
Ah, gotcha.
No, that was
I thought he was like I thought he was
It
a
was a-
former, like an ex-Yakuza who came like a really good house husband. Yeah.
There you go. Chad saved it. Chad saved
Indeed.
it. Anyways, yes. So next week, goddamn, I keep saying next week. You know what? If we somehow come back next week and do Kiva, you owe us all $5. So next time we do this, Kamen Rider Kiva, go watch it. Toshiki Noe, abortion, bye.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Stopping now then, I guess.